Is burnout something that you've ever faced?
Yeah, really interesting. I was just thinking about that the other day. I have always been so passionate about the company I'm working for and really aligned well with the values, mission, the goals. The one time I did find and experience burnout, I would say my direct leader, the senior leadership team had changed, and my direct leader kind of had gotten pushed out and I got re-reported. And I wasn't doing more work by any means, but the exact goals of what I was working towards changed dramatically and it didn't align with what the vision and what I really was there to do originally, and that's when I got burnt out. All of a sudden, all that extra work and that extra time I was putting in became overwhelming, and it didn't align again with the purpose I was really looking for.
Like you said, it wasn't necessarily having a lot of work, right? The work stayed the same, but again, the mission behind it changed. Can you give a background in terms of how many years have you been a physical therapist and kind of what your starter journey was?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been a physical therapist for about 18 years now. I started my career at Hospital for Special Surgery, had a phenomenal experience there doing the residency program, also building some call it more programs outside of just treating. So I did a lot of injury prevention assessments, helped build a pediatric sport division for them, um, ACL prevention programs. So had a lot of experience not only in clinical but non-clinical there, and then continued to grow into a larger enterprise organization. Where I again did a little bit of clinical and non-clinical work, working on the business side as well, and from there went into healthcare technology. And so have been both back and forth between being inside clinics, managing clinics, running large scale, the clinical excellence piece of clinics, and also being in the nitty gritty of innovation and technology.
Great. So, did you search for leadership or did it find you?
It absolutely found me. Even non-clinical, sometimes I get messages all the time and someone says, "How did you transition to non-clinical?" And I say, "You know what? I never really transitioned. I just kept following I was passionate about and went after pieces and things I wanted to create of need I saw and ended up in that non-clinical role. I actually even had a hard time leaving patient care and did it for 1 day a week all the way through to COVID.
So, in your 18 years of experience, how have you seen burnout change within the profession as a whole?
Yeah, and that's a great question because it has changed. I would say that the amount of patients that people are seeing, the volume hasn't quite changed dramatically. What has changed is all the extra work, the non-fun, the admin, the documentation after hours, the multiple systems that you're working through, the metrics put on you by higher leadership. All of that has changed. There's this other stuff that's not as much fun and takes away from your focus on quality care that is now really a part of the industry. And that's what I think has led to more burnout now than ever.
So you say that the actual amount of patients treated hasn't changed too much. A lot of what's talked about is that there's pressure to see more and more patients, right? So I'd love for you to kind of break down a little bit what your personal experience has been as an early clinician to what you're seeing clinicians have to do now.
Yeah. So, and when I say that, and I say back in the day, I still saw a ton of patients, it was because I would fit them in during my lunch and after hours and so forth because I wanted to see them. Nobody was telling me to see that amount of patients. Nobody was giving me those metrics and telling me I had to see that number of patients, I had to double book, or that I had to hit a metric. That back then, right? I feel like it was like just do your patients best. Do what they need. And let me tell you, back then, I was just writing a quick paper note, and so all my notes were done. I'm old, so we literally, wrote it right there, and you kind of put it on, and then you take the chart the next day. So, but what's changed now is there's more people telling you what you need to see, telling you that your schedule's not full, telling you that you may have to see them 3 times a week. You're no longer autonomously a doctor. Now, that in addition to all of the extra admin pieces, I think is like the silent killer, and really does add to it. So that's where I say I probably saw as many patients back then as I did some that are now, but it's a different context.
Yeah, and I really like how you're kind of, highlighting there's this disconnect of before, it's just do your best to provide the best outcomes, and basically the patient was at the center of it, versus now, it's about these metrics that don't connect with why a lot of us have entered the profession in the first place. But what other examples of, like, the invisible parts of being a physical therapist that aren't necessarily so forward facing, but actually drain us?
The 3 things that really make a clinician excel is, autonomy, mastery, and skill, and purpose, right? That's what they wanna be. That is what they wanna reach, and if you take away some of those pieces, like the purpose of why they're there, their professional development, what they can grow towards in clinical care, that is where we tend to see the burnout happening, and now it no longer becomes this fun industry that you joined. It starts to become a little bit more of a pressure situation, where you don't feel like you could do your best work.
When you said the one time you felt burnout was when management changed, right? So that speaks very strongly to how important and critical it is that our managers are really good leaders. Can you speak a little bit to how leadership is just leadership development within physical therapy? Um, and is there room for us to do better?
Absolutely. Leadership is so important, and we seek out mentorship, leadership, guidance, coaching. And that's what I think of leadership as. You should always be trying to coach and lead somebody to excel even better than yourself. And that's hard skill. You don't learn it in school. A lot of our clinicians get pushed into leadership. It's because that may have been the only path, or that clinic needed a clinic director. And again, preparation may not have been there. So I think it is crucial that the leader that you have sets the tone, sets the culture, sets the mission, the value, allows people to thrive underneath them. And it's really important to train leaders to be able to understand that and learn that.
Can we elaborate a little bit on what would be the necessary supportive structures that need to be in place to allow, specifically like new clinic managers succeed?
So I think that every clinician should be almost mentored and taught in coaching and leadership skills. You should be learning that right from the start. And then before putting somebody in a leadership role, like a clinic director, they should be on a path and they should have courses that they have to do even before they get put into that role. So you could be proactive in it, not just pushed into it and then reactive and trying to learn everything while taking on all these new tasks and still treating. You really carry everybody's burden on your back. You carry your clinician's burden because you're trying to keep the culture, keep them happy, make sure they're thriving, surviving, and doing well. You're carrying the patient's burden, making sure that they're coming in, they're getting quality care, they're actually completing their plan of care, and you're really carrying the burden of the business and the upper management team who are saying, okay, now you have to hit these metrics. They're looking at a spreadsheet and telling you that. You have to be able to understand and help continue to protect those underneath you to foster that clinical care and quality and make sure that they have that right purpose and sense while also helping the business grow. So I think it's a really tricky, challenging role, and a really important one that one can excel at or get completely burnt out. I think the mindset set shift is to remember exactly what you felt as a clinician in that clinic and continue to focus on that while taking the business side and understanding it, interpreting it. I think that it's so important to everything should be focused in the quality care, the patients, and the clinicians and patients being the heart of what you are trying to help and treat. If you focus on that piece and you become a really good leader for all of those small pieces, then the business metrics will follow.
So where do we put the distribution of effort to try to create that environment where everyone's happy?
Yeah, I mean, it cannot be 100% on the clinic director. Obviously, it starts from the top all the way down. It is the set and tone of the company that you're working for and the highest leader, right? They set the stage. But then every single leader after that needs to embody that. And the only way it works is if they all embody that same mission, purpose, and they really are on the same goal, and that their top goals align with all the way down, right? So I do think that it has to start from the top and it has to transcend its way all the way down. And then the clinic director takes that and sets the tone. They have huge influence in the way that their clinic runs, but it's only within confines of the business, of course, and the top leader.
Perfect. All right, final 2 questions. First one being a fun one, if you could rebuild the profession from the ground up now, knowing what you do, what would you do different?
Oh my goodness, I love this question. I've been just waiting for people to ask it to me. So if I could rebuild the profession, PTs would come out as doctors. I know we do, right? We come out with our white coats and everything, but we absolutely should come out as doctors and primary care providers. That is where I think that we fit in the whole ecosystem. And there's alternative compensation models that help promote the quality care, the way you want to treat, the way that you are actually kind of running your schedule. And then they're hitting those metrics without even meaning to, because they're just searching for the quality care. And that will eliminate a ton of the middle managers, right? Like when I'm saying middle managers, like your regional directors, your senior vice presidents, your VPOs, and people who are just monitoring and telling you what to do and kind of saying, this is what I saw this week and this week. If everybody kind of comes out as their own doctors under the confines of this leadership skill and you've got a mentor helping you and you can create your path, that's how I would see it redesigned. And PTs would be primary care providers. They'd be able to see people direct access, a lot more prevention, preventative care, um, technology. Everybody would have Scribe. Everybody would have the most seamless technology so they don't have to worry about all those other pieces and those parts that make their job not fun, that all those processes were put into place. So the structure of the organization is that we put the right processes, the right technology. We've given you those skills to be your own clinician and doctor and to really grow in clinician care, and taken away some of the areas that are taking away some of the money from the clinicians. And that's where I think it would be a beautiful model to grow and develop.
Awesome. So well said. Okay, last question. Is there a trend that you're either excited about or worried about that you see developing in the next 10 years?
Yeah, I love the AI trend. I love the scribe trend. I think that's really going to help with burnout, and take some of that load off that you don't have to go home and write, thousands of notes of hours and hours on your weekends. I think that's a great trend. And I do think technology can be a huge assist in helping prevent burnout and let you to focus on the patient. Um, I also love the MSO trends that are popping up. I see less and less clinics needing to sell to an enterprise or get VC or private equity and be part of these MSOs, like managed service organizations, so they can kind of continue to grow, but have that hierarchy of help, and better buying power for in insurance reimbursement and for different technologies. So I think that's a really cool trend. And then the third one is that PT says primary care providers and getting in front of the line, and the changes that hopefully CMS or hopefully they're saying them, but we really need PTs involved in them. So those are the three areas that I'm excited for: the AI technology, the MSOs, and then the PTs as primary care providers. I also think that um, clinicians need to grow in clinical care too. You don't always want to just take them out of the role of treating. That's what we came into this field for. We love treating patients. So if you can help them grow and foster in clinician care, I think that's phenomenal as well.